For those of you I haven't seen yet, Happy New Year. So I'd like to call to order the regular meeting of Coachella Valley Water District Board of Directors here in Palm Desert. Today is January 11th, 2022. And before we begin, I'd like to make some COVID remarks that are our standard remarks. I'd like to make clear for the record that this meeting is being conducted as permitted under AB 361 and Board Resolution 2021-43 in an effort to protect public health, prevent the spread of COVID-19, and because state and or local officials are recommending measures to promote social distancing, the public may view this board meeting online or virtually. The public may also attend the meeting in person. The meeting is being streamed live on the district's website at cbw.org. And as stated on the agenda, members of the public who wish to comment on any item within the jurisdiction of the district or any item on the agenda may provide comments in person at the meeting or via Zoom. And I guess if we had any general public comments received yet, but we'll take them later at the meeting as well, right? We don't have anything right now. Okay, so we will have a board member, I believe, attending remotely, Vice President Estrada. And so we'll make sure that we give him ample opportunity to participate. I'll call on him directly, and all of our action will be by roll call vote. And with that, would you please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Also, just appreciate everyone wearing their masks. It's a current state requirement for indoors.
I'm sorry?
So that's good.
Let me find it. It's been a while.
Roll call, please.
Yes, good morning, President Powell.
Here.
Vice President Estrada.
I'm here.
Thank you. Director Bianco.
Here.
Director Aguilar.
Here.
And Director Nelson.
Here.
Thank you.
No, it's okay. All right, so we have all five here. Now we have this resolution 20, is that the right number? We're not giving it a 22 number?
So the recommendation, Mr. President, is to take action to affirm Resolution 2021-43 to state that the findings are still in effect.
All right, okay.
Permit AB 361 remote.
All right, so we're affirming a resolution that we've already passed at a
Yes.
prior meeting. I gotcha.
Yep.
All right. So
Other-
Recommendation.
Yes.
and we do this every 30 days?
Correct.
That is correct.
Okay, is there a motion to approve that?
Affirmation.
I'm sorry, affirm the resolution?
I'll make a motion. I'll second.
Roll call vote, please.
President Powell.
Aye.
Vice President Estrada. Director Estrada.
Aye.
Oh, thank
There
you.
he is.
Director Bianco.
Aye.
Director Aguilar.
Aye.
And Director Nelson.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So that is affirmed, and we can continue to meet as we do
Correct.
That is correct.
for another 30 days. Do we have any additions, deletions, or adjustments for today's agenda?
No, sir, not to my knowledge.
No.
Nor I. Okay, public comment. So this is a opportunity for public comment on any matter that's not appearing on the agenda or on any item on the consent calendar. Please address the board at the podium. Limit your remarks to 3 minutes, and if you wish, state your name and address for the record. And I believe we do have some folks planning to comment today.
We do, Mr. President. First up, we have Mr. Michael Nowalki. He did provide a written letter which was distributed to the board yesterday afternoon and is also included as part of the record.
Thank you. All right, good morning.
Good morning. My name is Michael Nowacki. My residence is at 42594 Leolius Drive in Palm Desert at the Oasis Country Club. I'm a candidate for the Oasis Board of Directors. For an undetermined period of time, certain members of the Coachella Valley Water District staff have been conducting clandestine meetings with various Oasis Country Club members, either in person, via email chains and teleconferencing calls, or on Zoom. According to a December 9th email received by me from Coachella Valley Water District Non-Potable Water Operations Manager, Ms. Olivia Bennett, the OASIS Board appointed advisory committee called the OASIS Irrigation Committee. The OASIS board members, a hired outside consultant, and even a non-privileged communication with legal representatives of the OASIS Country Club have conducted meetings with the CVWD over the past few years. The OASIS Irrigation Committee was appointed by the OASIS board with a charter to only study the golf course irrigation system replacement. The OIC was not asked to evaluate state mandates and cost impact for the replacement of the entire common area irrigation system, owned equally by all 662 owners at the OASIS Country Club. Ms. Bennett and Ms. Evans, who is no longer employed here, refused to appear at my invitation to independently meet with the OASIS members at an acceptable date and time, believing they were to be invited to an OASIS Town Hall Zoom-hosted meeting on January 18th, 2022, which has now been postponed as of 5:09 p.m. last night to February 24th. They were disinvited to participate in the OASIS Town Hall by the OASIS Irrigation Committee. Thus, a 5-page letter dated December 30th, 2021 was sent to CVWD Board Clerk Sylvia Bermudez for processing a public records request. Such a quote, citizen subpoena will determine if certain OASIS members dissuaded the CVWD staff from appearing before the OASIS owners who own equally the common areas, including the golf course. Yesterday afternoon, the CVWD board received a 5-page letter articulating my legitimate concerns. I am appearing here today to respectfully seek the CVWD board to order a member of the Water Conservation Communication Team, Ms. Bennett, and the general manager to appear before the OASIS membership at the main clubhouse at a date and time acceptable to all parties. And we would appreciate this to be docketed as an agenda meeting if it cannot be considered today at the next available opportunity. And I thank you for your time.
Thank you. Do we have anybody else wishing to speak?
I do not have any others in the boardroom, I believe, that have submitted a request. I do have 2 individuals online. I believe one is a consultant, but I don't recognize the other. So if we do have somebody that is online on Zoom, if you could please use the raise hand feature if you would like to speak in general public comment. Okay, I do not, so it does not appear we have others.
All right. So we are not aware of anybody else wishing to make public comment at this time. Thank you, including online. If that changes, let me know. And we will have opportunities for public comment as we consider individual agenda items. So this brings us to the consent calendar. Do we have a motion to approve the items on the consent calendar?
Move approval. I'll second.
All right, and I just want to give Director or Vice President Estrada an opportunity if there was something he wanted to pull. I'm not hearing.
You know, President Powell, there was a question on item, I believe it was 10. I think it was the CEQA guidelines, and maybe some of that was already answered. I did see some emails back and forth, but my general question about 10. Well, can we pull it?
So that is that an item on the consent calendar, or is that later in the agenda?
It's an action item.
Later.
That's later, right?
Okay. All right. I'm sorry. I thought it was in consent.
Yeah, no, that's fine. So we have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
President Powell,
Aye.
Vice President Estrada,
Aye.
Director Bianco,
Aye.
Director Aguilar,
Aye.
and Director Nelson.
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, so that passed 5-0. And let's see, so this brings us to 8A, public hearing. And there's this, all right, so there's nothing here. So we originally had scheduled a public hearing regarding the input for redistricting of our division boundaries, and that will be continued to January 25th, 2022.
That is correct. We will renotice. I just wanted to make sure it was on the agenda in case somebody had questions or had any intent to attend, that we could clearly note that the hearing would be continued to the 25th and republished.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Good clarity there. Written communications, we have 4 items listed in the packet. I believe that's everything, right?
That is correct.
And those have been 2 resolved and 2 pending at the staff level.
Mr. President, if I may, just for the record, I want to point out that there are no members of the public present here in the room to speak on the redistricting. It has been continued, but just for the record, there's nobody here that would have offered comments.
Correct. Or online.
So yeah, hopefully they'll show up at the 20.
We worked with communications at the time. They updated a press release. I believe they did a Facebook post. We did not do a Facebook, but they updated the press release as well.
Good. All right. Then 9B, informational reports. We have the fiscal year 22 budget versus actual report. Carrie, good morning.
Good morning. So the board action item in the quarterly financial report has the detailed information, but starting this fiscal year, we are adding a PowerPoint presentation, but it is up to the board's discretion if you want me to present it or if you just want to focus on specific items. So, okay.
Yeah, I think I brought forward one question. I'm fine with it, with a very quick
Did you want me to
presentation.
go over the presentation?
Yeah, me as well.
Okay. Does it, sorry. Does it go to the next slide? Sylvia, if I go sorry.
Did we say we want the presentation, or maybe we don't even need it?
I don't need the presentation.
I don't think we need it.
Sorry.
I don't think we need it. No, Saved by the Bell.
Thank you.
I appreciate how you laid out the information, and yeah, I was able to be comfortable with the presentation as is.
So for the next one, it's the
All
calendar.
right, so moving on. Then we have the annual comprehensive financial report. Go ahead.
So we actually have Nitin Patel, the auditor, to do the presentation, and I'm not sure if he's logged in already. So.
Mr. Patel, I believe you are online, and I just moved you over to be a panelist. So you now have the ability to speak and present.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Again, Nitin Patel from Clifton Larson Allen, and I'm here to give you a short presentation on the independent auditor's report and certain communications to those in charge of governance. The independent auditor's report is contained in your annual comprehensive financial report, and it starts on page 28 of that report. In the first page of the report, we discussed that we conducted the audit for the year ended June 30th, 2021. In the second paragraph, we discussed that these financial statements are the responsibility of management. In the third paragraph, we discussed the audit standards, and we used the audit standards generally accepted in the United States and also government audit standards. We believe that the audit evidence we've obtained is sufficient for us to express an opinion on the financial statements. On the second page of the opinion, we give the opinion, which is an unmodified opinion. Your financial statements are fairly presented in all material respects in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles. After that, we do have an emphasis of matter. In the current fiscal year, we had to implement GASB statement number 84 for fiduciary activities, resulting in a restatement. And effectively, the restatement is just convert deposits into fund balance. After that paragraph, we discussed there's certain required supplementary information in your financial statements, which consists of the management discussion and analysis, the pension liability, and OPEB liability. We reviewed that information for consistency, but are not providing an opinion on that. Finally, under other information, we discussed there's a supplementary information, there's statistical information, and there's an introductory section. We're not giving an opinion on the introductory section or the statistical section. We are giving an opinion on the supplementary information, and that is fairly stated in conjunction with the financial statement as a whole. So that concludes my comments on the opinion. We did issue a report on internal control of our financial reporting, and we had no items of material weaknesses to mention to you. And finally, the last item is the communication to those in charge of governance. It's a 3-page communication where we discussed, one, the qualitative aspects of your accounting policies, which are described in Note 1 to the financial statement. That also discusses the restatement of net position that we had to utilize for the current year. After that, we discussed accounting estimates in your financial statements, which consist of the pension liability and the OPEB liability. We reviewed that information and found it to be consistent and reasonable in accordance with the professional standards. The district made all adjustments that were proposed to them. We did not have any difficulties in performing the audit. We did request that management give us representations related to the audit. And finally, we were not aware that your management consulted with any other CPAs related to how to report any specific financial matters. That concludes my comments. I'll be happy to answer any questions you have.
Thank you. Don't have any.
We would recommend, Mr. President, a motion just to receive and file for the audit. It's not absolutely legally mandated, but because it is the audit as opposed to simply an update presentation, we would recommend a motion to receive and file.
So, okay, go ahead. So I'll entertain a motion to receive and file the audit.
Mr. President, I'm sorry, I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Thanks. So I'm just curious, does the, and this is either to the auditor or to staff, does the audit team look at the investment portfolio at all and make any decisions about?
No, they only focus on the accounting relating to the investment portfolio, but they don't have any input regarding the actual decisions made on the allocation.
So just transactions?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Fair enough.
President Powell, if there are no further questions, I do just want to take a moment to thank Neaton and his staff, as well as the finance staff. And really, this clean audit is an evidence of the work that's going on throughout the whole district. And I really appreciate everyone's diligence with following our procedures. And also recognize that this is a very simple presentation at this point, but there are hundreds of hours of work that went in behind this and closing the books and getting ready for the audit. I just wanted to acknowledge staff on that.
Yeah, I echo that. All right, is there a motion to receive and file the audit?
Yeah, I'd just like to say I completely agree with what you had to say, Jeff, and President Powell. Is hats off to the finance department and the audit team that came in and worked together to get a clean bill of health on the accounting portion of the district, and it gives me great comfort to see that we're a shining star in public accounting. So good for you. And with that, I'll make the motion to accept and file the audit. Second.
Thank you. The motion, a second roll call, please. Thanks, Jeff.
President Powell,
Aye.
Vice President Estrada,
Aye.
Director Bianco,
Aye.
Director Aguilar,
Aye.
and Director Nelson.
Aye.
Thank you.
Good, that passed 5-0. On to our action items. 10A, approve purchase of 8 vehicles. Stuart Taylor, good morning. And disposal of 9 vehicles.
Good morning. President Powell, Vice President Estrada, and distinguished members of the board, we are here asking you to approve the purchase of 8 vehicles in the amount of $1,229,094 and the disposal of up to 9 vehicles. It is recommended that the board of directors authorize the general manager to purchase the following 8 vehicles, which include 2 heavy haul tractors, 5 15-yard dump bodies, and 1 F-750 with an 8-yard dump. Additionally, it's recommended that the Board of Directors authorize a contingency in the amount of $60,906 for a total requested authorization of $1,290,000. This request consists of the purchase of the 8 vehicles noted above. The 2 heavy haul tractors and 5 15-yard dump bodies will be purchased from Inland Kenworth via Sourcewell contract at the cost of $347,062 and $785,825 respectively. By taking a strategic approach and refurbishing the 15-yard dump bodies, we are able to reduce capital expenditures by $30,000 per truck, or $150,000 cumulatively. The F-750 8-yard dump body will be purchased from the National Auto Fleet Group via Sourcewell contract at a cost of $96,207. This vehicle will be gasoline powered and replace 2 diesel powered trucks at an additional savings of $23,793. CVWD has determined it is in the best interest to purchase the vehicles through the Sourcewell Cooperative and utilize Ken Porter Auctions, or KPA, for auction services. CVWD has coordinated with our council regarding the purchase of heavy-duty diesel vehicles to ensure compliance with the South Coast Air Quality Management District Rule 1196. This rule requires the purchase of an alternate fuel vehicle or application for a technical infeasibility certification request, or TICR, which, if granted, allows the purchase of a diesel-powered vehicle. Subsequently, CVWD applied to SCAQMD for 12 TICRs to purchase 12 heavy-duty vehicles as outlined in our FY22 Motor Pool CIB. Working collaboratively with the SCAQMD, we received authorization to purchase 7 of the 12 heavy-duty vehicles. As mentioned, we'll replace 2 of the diesels with 1 gasoline-powered, leaving 4 trucks yet to address. We will continue to work with SCAQMD to resolve the remaining non-compliant vehicles as well as any mitigation requirements. The fiscal year 2022 Motor Pool Capital Improvement Budget includes funding in the amount of $2,469,000. On September 14th, the Board of Directors approved 4 F-550 utility bed trucks and 1 disc in the amount of $572,000. The requested action includes additional procurement of the 8 vehicles totaling $1,290,000. The TICR approval has a requirement that we execute a purchase agreement within 90 days of the SCAQMD letter, which was dated December 3rd, 2021. Due to significant production delays, we are not confident that we will receive any of the aforementioned vehicles in FY22. However, with an approval today, we will get into the production queue with the 8 additional vehicles and avoid further delay. Staff will monitor the production schedules closely and will rebudget all delayed vehicles in FY23 Motor Pool Capital Improvement Budget. And with that, I would be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. I don't hear any questions. So is there a motion to approve 10A?
I'll make the motion to approve the item.
I'll second. Good. Roll call, please.
President Powell,
Aye.
Vice President Estrada,
Aye.
Director Bianco,
Aye.
Director Aguilar,
Aye.
and Director Nelson.
Aye.
Thank you.
Passed 5-0.
Thanks, Stuart.
Yep. And then Dan Ruiz, good morning. So this is solicitation of bids for the Phase 1B and Lincoln Street for the project.
Yes, good morning, President Powell and board members. You've seen this project many times before. And so today's request is to approve solicitation of bids for Phase 1B, which you can see on the map. The design has been completed, the environmental work has been completed. We just received the draft agreement for the $7 million from DWR on Thursday, this past Thursday. So staff is currently reviewing that draft agreement. We're going to be making comments. So we feel we'll be ready in the coming weeks to put this project out to bid. It's got an estimated cost of approximately $10 million, and it includes a pipeline, 12-inch pipeline down Lincoln Street as well. And so we're also waiting for approval for funding from the State Water Resources Control Board. In fact, they're having a meeting on Thursday to review our funding request for the balance of funds for this project. So this is a very important milestone for us. And so with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Thank you.
Yeah, Dan, could you summarize on that 10 million, just like summarize, you mentioned DWR funds and State Water Resources Control Board funds, and there's some CBWD funds. How's that 10 million kind of broken out?
Sure. So for Phase 1B, which includes Lincoln Street, the Phase 1B 30-inch pipeline is going to be roughly about $8-ish million or so. And the portion on Lincoln Street is going to be roughly about $2 million. Of course, pricing is very volatile right now. So we're thinking it's going to be about $10 million. And so with the $7 million, we need an additional $3 million. We have a funding request of $26 million with the State Water Resources Control Board, which should fund the remainder of this project and Phase 2. If the state agrees with our funding request, which again, there's a meeting on Thursday where they'll be reviewing that. If there's any shortfall or gaps, we'll look towards our WSBFC funds to make up that shortfall. So we feel obviously this is an important project for the community, and we're looking at various funding approaches, but we feel we should be covered.
Okay. All right. Motion to approve.
I'll second if there's a motion.
I guess I made a motion. I did. All right, and we have a second. I didn't use my words. The motion is second. Roll call, please.
President Powell,
Aye.
Vice President Estrada,
Aye.
Director Bianco,
Aye.
Director Aguilar,
Aye.
and Director Nelson.
Aye.
Thank you. 5-0.
Passed 5-0. Thanks, Dan.
Good job,
And
Dan.
10C, this is the adoption of local guidelines for the CEQA. William Patterson, good morning.
Good morning. Morning, Mr. President.
Good.
Board members. This item here is an annual update to our CVWD local CEQA guidelines. We started a comprehensive update to CEQA guidelines in 2019. We prepared this update with BB&K, and the main goals of this update are to provide additional references for specific provisions of CEQA that allow further guidance and supplemental authority. The updates to reflect changes into the Public Resources Code that occurred in the last year. It adds examples of projects that we've encountered in the last year that are qualifying for CEQA categorical exemptions and ministerial actions. And we're trying to ensure consistency and documenting those evaluations that we've made in the past. I know, Mr. Aguilar, you had a question. Did you receive the response that we provided?
I did.
Basically, the main things that are occurring here are pretty minor updates. I'd say the largest change that we're seeing in this update is the requirement that the public review period for environmental documents begin and end on a business day. That's probably the largest significant change for CVWD in this update. There are a lot of edits that come into this document that are just part of the Public Resources Code that aren't really going to affect CVWD. And with that, I'll take any questions.
Yeah, Vice President Estrada, I think you had something.
Yeah, the only question I had was if is there when we say local guidelines, are they really just state guidelines? Are they any different? the state guidelines, or are we just mirroring what the state allows?
They're a combination of the state guidelines. We don't deviate from the state guidelines, but what we can do is add clarifying language into our own guidelines and provide examples of CVWD specific projects that help to clarify some of the interpretation that might be needed under CEQA.
And if I may just real briefly, the law requires that each public agency have their own quote-unquote local CEQA guidelines to implement the state law. And so what we do at Best Best and Krieger is that we go through any changes in the law, any changes that need to be made to local guidelines for all of our clients. So we're not just going through yours page by page. And then we work with staff to tailor anything in particular to the district. So it's required that each public agency have their own local CEQA guidelines, and then that they be reviewed and tailored to your local needs. So we do both of those things on an annual basis. Most of the time, as Will mentioned there, minor changes, but they are changes that need to be consistent so that when you do your CEQA compliance here at the district, you'll have all the forms and all of the process in place so that you can do a lot of this on your own without having to consult with legal counsel and to make sure that they're in compliance with CEQA law.
Okay, and I did go through the red lines, and thank you for providing that. It was easy to kind of focus on what the changes were, and I was glad to see the language added there on the small water systems. I thought that was good, and I was trying to understand what Director Aguilar was thinking about when he, from an email that I saw he shared as it related to affordable housing, and me not being too familiar with those guidelines. I was interested to know if his question was answered or what it meant. Just because I'm not familiar with it.
Well, Vice President Estrada, this is Director Aguilar. I'm not sure if we shared the full response with you that we received from staff, but I mean, for everybody else, I had raised a question about one of the attachments that talked about expedited review for affordable housing projects, and there was a statement in there that only projects that are 100% affordable would qualify for that review. So correct me if I'm
For a streamlined review.
Right. So my point was that just based on my experience that not every affordable housing project, particularly those that are involved with acquisition of existing facilities for rehab, are 100% affordable. So, but it was pointed out to me, and I understand now that that's really a land use decision, which is not within purview of our approval, but also that these guidelines mirror what the state has in place, so that we really don't have any ability to change those.
Yeah, that's correct. It's a state guideline that's not subject for revision. And the lead agency on the development project, which is typically Riverside County or the cities, would make the determination of their environmental impacts and whether or not it applies for that streamlined review.
All right. So my question was answered. Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you for the explanation, Director Aguilar. That helps me understand.
Thank you. All right. So with that, is there a motion to adopt the local guidelines?
Mr. Chairman, I'll move approval.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. And roll call, please.
President Powell?
Aye.
Vice President Estrada?
Aye.
Was it yes?
That was an aye.
Yes, thank you. Director Bianco?
Aye.
Director Aguilar?
Aye.
And Director Nelson?
Aye.
Thank you.
Pass 5-0. Thank you, William.
Thank you.
Board member general comments. Why don't we start with Vice President Estrada?
I have no comments.
Okay, go ahead, Director Nelson.
Yeah, I'll go next. Thank you, John. Well, this last December has turned out to be very wet, and I've been appreciative, so I have a few numbers to rattle off in my the way I do when it's wet years. So in NorCal, the 8-station index is up to 149%. Of course, that's the area of Lake Oroville where our State Water Project comes from. The snowpack across the state is 131%, and more importantly, it's 57% of the April 1st number, which is a good number. So we're still at 0% towards the end of the month. Hopefully, the State Water DWR will come out with a new allocation for us. We're at 0 right now, so if we want to take bets, my bet's 5%.
Oh, we can do better than that.
We can do better than that. I would, but if you look at Oroville is 78% of normal, and it's filling. They are releasing out of Folsom, which is a real small reservoir. So hopefully we'll get some more storms coming in to build on the base and look good. Colorado River system is 131% of normal, and I think Janine Jones with DWR has indicated with the new aridification of the west that we'll need 140% of a normal runoff. And so when you look at the runoff in Colorado, it's looking to be right about normal right now. So we can only hope that we get back up to normal after the second lowest year of the 100-year period. So very hopeful on that. Then I'd like to congratulate Victoria Lord for being appointed to the Aqua Federal Legislative Committee. Good job. And for Scott for taking on the additional responsibilities coming your way. Thanks for being a team player and doing a great job in customer service and now some new responsibilities as well. So good for you, Scott. And with that, that concludes my comments.
Thank you.
So good news. I have no comments. Thank you.
No comments.
All right. Yeah, no, I'll just say, looking forward to a good 2022. I mean, maybe the hydrology is an indicator that's going to be a good year in a number of different ways. So I'll go with 15%. I don't know. Maybe it's too late. Maybe it's too late to get there.
All right. I like that, John.
I don't know. I'm going to go wild on the prediction. Anyways.
I'm sorry, what was the wager?
Well, we're just betting for fun.
Yeah.
This brings us to meetings and reports. We'll just go down the list. December 7th, Agua Caliente mediation meeting. That was the plenary, right? Yeah. And a number of us were there, staff and directors, myself and Vice President Estrada, along with the team from everybody, DWA, the Agua Caliente, the United States. It's interesting. Seems like there's more, we're developing a little more tension between the principals and the consultants and lawyers, which maybe is the right thing to happen at this point in time. So maybe a good sign. December 9th, I don't know, Vice President Estrada, I don't know if you had any comments on that plenary meeting on the 7th.
No, I don't have any comments.
Thank you. Then Salton Sea Authority on the 9th, Directors Estrada and Bianco. Dr. Bianco was not there.
Let me see. I believe I was there. I think that was the meeting where the Salton Sea Authority got, they started to meet in person again, so they held the meeting, I believe, at the in Imperial County.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just the normal updates. Nothing that I can recall as being too out of the ordinary. But I think that we're planning on starting to meet back in person. I don't know when we're going to meet or ask CVWD perhaps for the facility as the alternate place to meet. But my understanding was that at least for the first months in the year, the facility that would be used for Riverside County or on this side of the sea would be the Desert Mirage High School. So at least for the maybe first 2 months, including this month and next month, we would be meeting at the Desert Mirage.
All right, thank you. December 9th, the DVBA meeting, I did attend. That was their holiday party at the Flannery Exchange. Interesting venue, by the way, in Palm Springs, but it's an outdoor venue, and it had rained right before we got there. So everything was wet, but no business conducted, but it was a good networking opportunity. Let's see, the 13th Seven Basin States Principles, Director Nelson.
So that was held in Las Vegas. The day, excuse me, prior to the CRUA event, and it was a good opportunity for the two basins to kind of come together and relieve some of the tension that it's been building up between the two basins addressing the 1030 reconsultation requirement that was triggered through the DCP process. So it was good conversation, and it helped facilitate having a generally amenable CRUA conference.
Mm-hmm. Then Farm Water Coalition, same day?
Oh, yeah. So I missed that meeting because of
that. No worries. Yeah. Then 14th through 16th, CRUA, and there were 3 of us there, I think, Nelson, Estrada, and Powell. You know, it was amazing how well attended it was. I mean, almost 1,000 people were registered for this thing at Caesar's Palace. And, you know, I mean, kind of a big rollout of the 500 plus plan. It's going to be interesting to see how that develops. I don't know. That's kind of my comments. I mean, my other comment would be they're going to meet at Paris Hotel next year, which is interesting. Yeah. No, there was I guess it's the same ownership as Caesars, but they put us over there. Any other comments?
I'll be the last to comment, so if there are any other comments.
Yeah.
I'll just say that for me, it felt like it was just a lot of bad news, but with kind of like a hopeful, you know, almost like this is our challenge to fix, and you know, we can live up to the challenge, and that's why we have the rules that's why we have the agreements in place, and we're here now, and they were made for this type of situation. So now we just, you know, we need to live by them, and hopefully try to make the situation better. And it was almost a challenge of we can all work together, and we're going to figure it out. And at least that was the sense that I got, kind of that there was going to be light at the end of the tunnel, I guess maybe is what I felt, but it was a pretty bad scenario.
Director Estrada, I think that really captures the conference, and that's a great observation. there were a couple of, signing ceremonies that tried to put a positive spin on all the bad news. But I think you've captured, what the people at the river are thinking is that, hey, we have to use these agreements now to implement the requirements to manage the two reservoirs as well as the whole river. So it was encouraging to hear that the federal government would step up and match the lower basin's commitment of $100 million to match it with another $100 million for conservation activities in the lower basin to facilitate the 500-plus plan. Arizona has 160,000 acre feet of that wrapped up in a couple of tribal fallowing programs to go. So that's in there. The federal government is stepping in to take over the Palo Verde program in 2022 for system conservation, not for met water. So that's another 40,000 acre feet, and there's been some identified as some extra conservation in the Imperial Valley for 25,000 acre feet. So there's a real good start on the 500-plus plan, and it's going to be a work in progress over the next year, and it'll be a lot of work. And don't be surprised if some programs pop up that CVWD might want to be interested in participating in. So with that, there was some legislation that was being put forth by the Crit tribe for them to facilitate moving water, leasing water off of their property in their lands on the California and Arizona side. Steve Abbott took a look at the legislation that is in Washington and said that it was non-precedential to us. So that was a great review by him, and we met with the tribe as the Colorado River Board to listen to their presentation and be supportive of the legislation, which will in turn support system and state water supplies on the river. So other than that, it was like Costello said, it was a lot of bad news, and has been tempered a little bit by this late December storm. So I thought it was a challenging conference.
And also in there, we had the Colorado River Board meeting, which you touched on maybe a little bit there.
Yeah.
Appreciate. It was interesting to hear the presentations by each of the agencies at that meeting.
I like those December meetings at CRUA with the Colorado River Board, because it's good to hear the other agencies and what they feel is important. And thanks for Robert and the team to putting our presentation together.
Right. Let's see, December 15th Zoom meeting with Supervisor Perez, Director Estrada.
Let me look here in my notes. Meeting counties. 1 second.
I believe that was an update for the county supervisor and staff about the progress on the various projects in the East Valley for water and sewer.
Okay, is that that's the meeting where we were joined by the Housing Coalition, and they had a number of projects that they were trying to pencil out, and we were just we gave an overview of our IXTP project that we're working on that would open up some additional supply to the Mecca area, and that ties into a project that's being worked on in the Mecca area by the Coachella Housing Coalition, and we were trying to get a sense of schedules, and so that's what we talked about.
Yes, sir, that's it.
Thank you. And we had on the 17th the Salton Sea Authority. I'm not sure I understand this, Personal Ad Hoc Committee teleconference. Is that personnel?
Yeah, that's supposed to be personnel.
Okay.
Yeah, that's, we met with our executive director, the personnel committee, and talked about some of the needs for staff and just thinking about how to make some rearrangements. We don't have a big staff, so thinking about how to morph some of those job descriptions and maybe how to increase staff. That's what we talked about.
Thank you. Then December 20th, we had a principals meeting on the Agua Caliente litigation. So there were 6 of us there, the tribal chair and vice chair, and then the DWA and CVWD president, vice president of each agency. And, honestly, so that was our first meeting of just all the principals. I think we're going to meet again, but, I think I'm hopeful that we're making some progress. And I think we'll talk more about that in closed session. I don't know if you had any further comments.
I don't.
Yeah. Okay, good. December 21, I almost think of our problems out there. That's one that's I'm more optimistic about that than some of these other things like getting water from the state.
Mm-hmm.
So, and there I'm more optimistic than you on the state thing. Director Nelson, whatever. Okay, so let's see, the 21st Internal Salton Tech Working Group, Director Estrada.
Yeah, so there's been a number of groups created to try to tackle the North Lake project that the Salton Sea Authority is working on. I believe I can't recall the names of each of the groups, but they're meant to kind of tackle different aspects of the project. I've been added to this technical working group that I believe right now is kind of focused on the water supply issue. And so we had a conversation to try to figure out how the Salton Sea Authority should continue to approach the Coachella Valley Water District for just to continue to have the conversations about water supply. And I believe that the main thing that came out of that was thinking about how to make the formal ask via a letter, perhaps. So there should be a letter being, or at least the direction was that a letter should start being crafted with some sort of formal ask as to quantities and centered around Colorado River water, because I believe if it was anything other than Colorado River water, it doesn't seem that that there would need to be any sort of ask to CVWD. So it is Colorado River water specific, and so that letter should be being crafted. I don't know when it's gonna arrive, but it is that seems to kind of be where the thinking was going.
All right, thank you. Let's see, on the 22nd, I had a meeting with IID Director J.B. Hamby. He came up here to Coachella and, we discussed a number of things. The second time we've met, I did express my concern about something I didn't know anything about until recently, that IID had been working over the last several years to secure easements for their transmission lines that run over Torres Martinez land. And they just got those signed this year, or in 2021, that all are temporary easements that end at the end of the compromise agreement, which is to say that they will be trespassing in 2032 again on land where their permanent assets exist. You know, I don't understand those sorts of things. I made it clear to him, my view is that if we, speaking of Coachella Valley, had representation on their board and had some decision-making representation, that never would have happened. And this is happening right now. I mean, this happened in 2021. So it just seems like, and when you look at how many years it took for them to get those easements in place and signed with the tribe, you know, whoever's in charge, which is IID, needs to start right now to get the next phase of these things going. You know, they should be permanent easements. Anyways, it's, we discussed a number of other things, but I do think that that is a topic for the CVEC that they need to be made aware of. It's all public, by the way. The documents are on the IID website. So, I didn't know anything about it.
Not good.
No, it's like poking you in the eye. I mean, it's like.
Weren't they trespassing for the last
Yeah.
85 years and nothing happened, right?
Well, they settled that, but only temporarily. So, just another issue to add to the pile, in my view. Anyways, December 27th, CVWD mandate training. All right, so I just did the 2-hour training for the harassment prevention for supervisors. 28th, water education for Latino leaders, teleconference director Estrada.
See here. Yeah, that was just a conference call to talk about the visit that the group was going to make starting January 7th to the 10th, and I was involved with him in helping put together a schedule, and it was a call to try to just make sure that everything seemed to be in order, and that's what we talked about.
Thank you. And then the January 4th Environmental Assessment Committee, also Estrada.
Yeah, that's one of our regular EAC meetings. This one was to approve and authorize public review and comment for the Thousand Palms draft environmental impact, reported environmental impact statement. And it's a big project. I know we've been working on it for a long time. I don't have a sense of which one's bigger. If this is bigger than the North Indio flood channels, or about the same, but it covers a tremendous area, offers a lot of flood control for the Thousand Palms area. I'm not sure at this point of the totality of the budget, or how we would build it in different phases. I understand we would start from the bottom and work our way up, but it's a good project, and that's what we talked about. We looked at the environmental. I'm looking forward to just getting more into the weeds of the budget and and how we're going to pencil it out over the next few years.
All right, thank you. Are there any other meetings that we need to report on today?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I had one on December 1st. I as well did a discrimination and harassment training, the 2-hour requirement.
Good.
And that is.
That's the teacher class from 9:30.
Any others? Hearing.
With that, I'll move approval of the meetings reported on for payment.
Second?
A motion and a second to approve per diem. So a roll call, please.
President Powell,
Aye.
Vice President Estrada,
Aye.
Director Bianco,
Aye.
Director Aguilar,
Aye.
and Director Nelson.
Aye.
Thank you.
Passed 5-0. General Manager report.
Yes, sir. Just to kind of hit some high points or perhaps some low points. On our COVID numbers, we've had 149 recovered qualifying cases. Currently, we have 30 current qualifying cases. Those are folks that are COVID positive. We've got 26 folks that are direct contact situations, and there's a various number of those, but most of them are household member positives where we require the employee to remain at home and then come back when they have a negative test. So we've currently got about 56 people off work. It's about 10% of our authorized full-time employees. When we get to vaccination status, we've documented proof of 414 people so far. We've got about 25 submitted exemptions, 2 medical, 23 religious. And as I think I provided back in December 8th, we are currently suspending any move to modify our COVID policies to require a vaccine mandate because of a court order that suspends the administration's rule or mandate that federal contractors get vaccinated. So more on that later. I'm sure you've been tracking the Supreme Court hearings on COVID. Although the federal contractor mandate was not included in those, we'll wait and see what happens. The only other thing I have is just to remind folks that Monday is Martin Luther King Day, and it is not a closed holiday for the district. We allow our employees to take a number of floating holidays. We have 9 recognized holidays, and we have a number of floating holidays, and Martin Luther King is one of those. So employees are allowed to take the day for vacation, but it is not necessarily closing the district. That's all I've got, sir.
All right, thank you. Council report.
Yes, in regard to the fact that we have some tight deadlines for the closed sessions today, I will go ahead and pass.
Okay. Any departmental reports? No?
No, sir.
Not aware of any. At this time, the board will recess in a closed session to discuss the items on the agenda. We will reconvene and report out of closed session following that consideration of those items. Of reportable action. Jeff, would you handle that, please?
Yes, Mr. President, in the items for closed sessions under Section 13 in regard to Section 13G, and a motion by Director Powell, second by Director Nelson, and a 5-0 vote, the board took action to deny the request to file a late claim and to have the appropriate notice sent therefore. Other than that, there's no other reportable action.
Thank you. And with no further business and hearing no objection, this meeting is adjourned.